Hello, Bill.
Hey, Martin.
Morning. Just my volume. Hello, Bill. That was weird. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Martin, good morning.
Good morning. A lovely day.
It is, it really is.
This is just the amount of snow we want.
I hope this
I'll do this. I don't think it's going to snow very much this winter here, though, because I just spent $690 fixing a snowblower.
Oh,
you need to use it now.
Yeah, I don't need to use it. It's all ready.
Yeah.
that was, thank you for doing that for us.
As long as it snows on the slopes, I'm good to go.
Yep.
You're just around the corner from me. Maybe I
Yeah.
could,
You know, the funny thing is I was out raking leaves a few weeks ago, and two different neighbors came over. We just moved in March. Two different neighbors came up and said, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. By the way, the people that used to live here used to snowblow the whole block. So we hope that you'll do that." I'm like, well, that's kind of an unreasonable expectation, but I've never had a snowblower before, so I'll do it.
Right.
You know,
okay, just don't throw any rocks in their windows.
Right.
yeah.
My new carburetor came in the mail for my snowblower yesterday. Got a little project this weekend.
You're helping to keep the snow away too then.
Yeah.
Oh, I do the two storm drains on my little curve there, Parkwood and Edison.
Okay.
Well, Mark, you're not doing it. You're not having somebody do it for you, huh?
Cleaning out the storm drains?
No. Do the carburetor.
Oh, no. I took mine off and cleaned the old one that was on there with the carburetor cleaner, and still running rough, so I just bought a new one. Put it on there.
They gave me a new one. It was $95. I was pretty pleased with the cost.
It's not bad. You can get a lot of them now. You can get on Amazon for like $15, $20. So it's almost not even worth trying to clean the old carburetor. You can just slap a new one up there and call it a day.
My snowblower is electric.
That's even better.
Ours came with the house, so I can't sneeze at it. The thing is enormous too. It's
That's why they think that you were supposed to snowblow the whole block.
Yeah.
You inherited the snowblower.
They started it up to adjust the carburetor before I picked it up, and it sounded like a race car. It was loud. Not a machine I plan on starting in my garage because I thought I'd be deaf by the time I got out of that place. It's like a 25-year-old Craftsman. It weighs an insane amount.
Okay, don't hurt yourself, John.
Yeah.
I used to have a heavy snowblower. I did more hurting my back trying to
Moving around.
jostle it around.
Yeah, I finally broke down and bought one, and we haven't had barely a flake. So
Yes, we're all prepared for no snow.
Yeah.
Great.
So for our finance committee, we have let's see, Tom Dufresne, Chris Whelan, Bill Simcoe, and Gary Nathan. So hopefully we have our folks. We have one of the four. Andrew, do you know if Chris is joining in today? He is? Okay.
I just talked to Chris within the last 5 minutes. I was up in his office. So he's
Okay.
He hasn't had a cup of coffee yet, though. So he's getting
Oh,
that,
all right.
and then he'll be ready.
Okay.
10
Well,
o'clock.
Gary's here. I can hear him. All right. So we've got two. One more, and then we can get rolling.
10 o'clock and Chris hasn't had his coffee yet?
Yeah.
It's been a busy morning. Yeah.
Oh.
I guess one person doesn't make a quorum.
Well, actually, there's two.
Oh, there's two people. Hey, Gary.
Hey,
We need a slide that says we'll get started in just a moment. Hey, there's Chris. Now we're just waiting on Tom, who is having computer trouble, so he'll be joining in a moment. Tom White, not Tom Dufresne. Hey, Chris.
Chris, did you get your coffee?
Got it.
there you go.
One of those mornings. You think things are going to be like 10 minutes and they take 2 hours.
Mm.
Oh, I feel bad for you today, Bill. That was a tough one. That was a tough game.
Are you talking about the Bills Patriots game?
Yeah, he just showed his Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
But,
yeah. It was history in the making, though.
yeah.
I'm just waiting on Tom to dial in. Let me share my screen while we're waiting. That's good to go. There we go.
Yep.
There's Tom. Yep. You're connecting now. Great. All right. It is just after 10 o'clock and our public notice said 10. So we are good to go for our finance committee meeting. Only a couple of items on the agenda for the finance committee today. We do have Chris, Bill, and Gary joining us from their respective communities. The first item up on the agenda is reading and acceptance of the minutes, which were distributed prior to the meeting. Those minutes date back to June 6th of it should be 2021. I apologize. The minutes were distributed prior to the meeting. Other than amending the date at the top of the minutes, do we have any questions, concerns, comments, or wishes of the committee?
I move we accept the minutes.
All right.
I second it. This is Gary.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll close with that. The next is our close for financial reports for the period ended 9/30/21. This isn't an official action that the Finance Committee needs to take up, but certainly want to make you aware of our profit and loss statement and our year-end balance as we move forward with the audit. Tom is joining us on the call today and can summarize those two documents, which can also be found in Dropbox, but I'll put them up on the screen as well so folks can follow along. Tom, where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the statement or the balance sheet? You're muted, by the way.
Yep, there we go. Start with the profit and loss statement because that's the activity that's happened during the course of the year. And you see that basically we have a number of grants reported, the New York State grant that CDRPC has applied for. That money offsets the CDRPC expenses to the corporation. And then you'll see that the Albany has reported a small amount of grants in the form of two different grants that add up to about $10 million. And I see that there's pennies off there. I'll have to have that corrected. Often I do things without pennies, so I don't see them until I print the report. So I apologize for that. So at the end of the day, you'll see that we took in $16.4 million, and guess what? We spent $16.4 million. So
No profit then. Okay.
no, we don't. We're not for profit, and we really hold true to that. We try not to make any money. And any money that is made, which would be rare and almost impossible the way we are structured, would be ultimately paid back to the communities. So that's the way that works. Grants that come in, or if we had some form of interest payment to the corporation, that would net against expenses of the community. So it should always be zero.
Good.
Any questions on the money in, money out statement, or statement of activities, as we like to call them in the not-for-profit world? Okay, now we turn over to the balance sheet, which again truly balances to zero at any one time. This particular one has some accounts payable and receivables that are still out there. Without going too deeply into this, there are some dollars and cents that don't seem to make sense in the accounting world, but that's because we have this tripartite multiple community function that throws things off a bit. Our current assets net, our cash position, less what is owed to the communities in a net number, and that cash position is basically money owed to CDRPC and the insurance bill that was paid in October. And if you scroll down to the accounts payable, you'll see that nets out to a zero equity. Our liabilities and our assets equal. And again, that's the manner in which this is structured to have each and every community participate in a net zero capacity. So money in, money out. Any questions? Okay. No, thank you.
So how are we doing with the audit?
Should be complete. We're waiting to get back from Amy. If you have any final questions, I'll reach out to her today and see where we stand. But we expect to see that in the next few days. I can't imagine that it's going to take any longer than that.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind for the first time, just exchanging documents, and Tom's in once a week. I think we got a little bit of a later start than we anticipated. And we do have Amy Pedrick is out of the primary audit seat, the new person in. So they're going through and testing accounts and requesting documentation. It's been a little bit behind, and that's that's an apology that I'll make, that we're going to need to have a special meeting in order to close out the year and review the audit and tax materials. So when we get into the board meeting, we'll talk about how to schedule that. I'll certainly try to make sure that we can button everything up so we have everything to the authority budget office by the close of the year. And I've made our auditors aware that we have a deadline in order to submit those materials. So we know they're working, and we're optimistic with good reason that we should be wrapping up very shortly.
And I'll contribute. The primary cause of delay at this point is that I held off on giving information to Amy until we finished the November meeting and got the invoices that were submitted into last year, because that's when the work actually was completed, so that the year end would be a little bit more accurate. What we can do to make sure that doesn't happen again is to just simply close out everything at the October meeting.
Okay.
Do we have any other business for Finance Committee? Right. Excellent. Our next meeting will be determined. It'll likely be 90 days before the beginning of our next fiscal year with our fiscal year 2023 projected budget. So we will post the meeting minutes and make sure to put a proper announcement when we start putting that date into focus. So thanks, everybody. And we'll close this, and we can get ready for our corporation meeting.
Okay. I'll pound the gavel then. So we'll open the meeting of the corporation. It's 10:12 a.m. And I guess we have our normal statement about holding this on Zoom in accordance with the New York State regulations. And in terms of our roll call, get myself from Albany. Let's see, we got Gary Nathan from Cohoes. We got Mark Hendricks from Rensselaer. We got Chris Whelan and Andrew Golden from Troy. We don't have Waterville. Maggie's on.
Maggie's on the line. I'm on the phone.
Okay, Maggie's on the phone. And Tim Murphy's on the line from Albany County Water Purification District. So we first order of business would be the minutes from the November meeting. Do we have any comments in regard to the minutes from November 10th meeting?
I did want to mention also, we live stream our meetings in accordance with the, I would say public officers law, but that's not what I'm looking for. The open meetings law, we live stream our meetings. We're live streaming this one as well. But if folks want to go back and see any of our meetings, the links are available in the meeting minutes and CDRPC's channel. So.
Okay. Mark, could you scroll up to the top of that page?
Mm-hmm.
That should be minutes instead of agenda.
Oh, I see. Thank you. That's what I get for copying and pasting for formatting. Good catch. Thank you.
Okay. If there aren't any comments or corrections other than the title, then could I have a motion to accept the minutes?
This is
I'll
Gary.
motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Hey, Gary and Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Great.
Next is a report from the Finance Committee.
Yep. Finance Committee met immediately prior to the meeting and reviewed our year-end financial reports. Tom, if you want to just put those, I'll put those up on the screen so folks can see. If you just want to do a quick recap for the full board of our cash position at the end of the year, that would be appreciated.
Okay, yeah, as you can see on our balance sheet, the cash position of $322,000, of which we have accounts payable of $14,000 to disperse, which has been subsequently dispersed since the end of the year. This is the report that's given to the auditor for their review and determination that it presents the fair and favorable look at what our finances are as a corporation. The profit and loss statement, as always, is a net zero. All the monies in are from the communities and from grants are used to offset or pay for the expenses that are incurred by the corporation. And the primary expenses are those of the long-term control plan that the communities are expending. And then each community then is offset with a revenue stream from each community.
Okay, did we need a board resolution in regard to this, Martin?
No, we'll as a board, when the audit is completed, the board will resolve to accept the year-end finances. So we wanted to make sure that these were distributed in advance of the audit so folks knew where we were for the year, but no action is necessary at this time.
Okay, yeah, I just saw that asterisk, so I thought perhaps there was something.
Yeah, we were anticipating having our audit completed and be able to be provided for the meeting, but felt like that was still an important piece of information to distribute. So no action at this time.
Okay. Okay, a CDRPC contract for 2022.
I'll call it up. I have made no changes to our proposed contract for the next fiscal year. What I have done is carried forward the reflection of the New York State Department of State grant that we did obtain that offsets the cost of CDRPC services when it comes to the fringe and labor rates. What I also did for this contract is I updated the bid packet. EFC released a new services bid packet, and so that bid packet is reflected in reference in our contract. Also attached to the contract is an updated MWBE utilization plan that we will submit to New York State EFC with a traditional waiver request that we've provided in the past. As per the contract roles, requirements, value, termination, those sorts of materials, didn't see a necessity to change that. That's just carried forward for the simplicity of EFC and DOS's review. Certainly we operate as a cost incurred basis as much as the pool communities need us. We are available to provide services to the communities. Other than that, the only element that's needed in order that's needed prior to the chair of the corporation executing the contract is the annual signatures from each of the pool communities noting the assignment, because the original contract relationship wasn't between the pool communities. It was as a corporation. So we collect those signatures from each of the mayors of the communities to memorialize that the contract between the individual pool communities is now being advanced through the Pool Communities Corporation as opposed to individual communities. something our attorneys advised us to make a clean connection between the roles and responsibilities of the communities as they relate to the intermunicipal agreement and the roles and responsibilities to the communities to retaining a program administrator through the CSO Pool Communities Corporation. So pretty straightforward. We haven't made any significant changes to the contract. If there are questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. But otherwise, looking for an acceptance of the contract.
Okay, and this is just because we do this on an annual basis. We weren't going to enter into a multiple year contract because of our funding setup. So any questions from the board members? If not, can I have a motion to accept this? It will require action on each of the board members to get their sign-offs and before it can go for my signature.
So this is the assignment.
So to have a motion to proceed with this execution of contract.
This is Gary. I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Gary. Second,
I'll second it, Maggie.
and thanks, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The financial report for December 1st.
Split up.
All right. We have $316,000 on December 1st, and that will be reduced by accounts payable, which is the check to CDRPC for $93.16. And we have no activity reported other than that from 2020 fiscal year end 2021. So you'll see that there's been no change to any of the data. We have 0 reported and 0 allocated.
Okay, any questions from the board members? We probably have some ongoing things with Beaver Creek that will get plugged in for the next time.
Mhm. Right. And I'm in the process of sending out today the activity invoices, et cetera, and statement for this past fiscal year. If anybody wants it in PDF, I'll send it that way, or if they want it in Excel form, I can send it that way, or I can send both. Simply let me know and I'll be happy to take care of that. And I'd like to get that out today.
Yeah, PDF would be fine, I think, for us, Tom.
Okay.
Anybody?
Yeah, this is Gary. Whatever's easiest for you.
It's a
matter.
push of a button, either one.
PDF is fine.
Okay.
In that case, we'll send it a PDF, and if folks want an Excel document, just reach out to us and we'll send that along.
Okay. We'll take care of that today.
Okay, the financial report doesn't require any board action. We'll move to vendor invoices.
Yep, let me call those up. Okay, folks can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a number of vendor invoices and an adjustment to 2 of the invoices. Before we get into the vendor invoices, Bill, do you want to walk through the adjustment, or I can take it if you don't want to?
Yeah, I think we're just making some adjustments with our disbursement stuff with EFC due to DGESR trying to get their waiver requests in, and so that's adjusted what we could ask for disbursement for. I think that a typo on DGESR, but I think they have think you have their names spelled a little.
Oh, okay. Essentially, what we're doing is one phase is eligible for grant and one is not. So I think what you're doing is transferring the grant amount from one phase to another. This is an exercise in bookkeeping about how we're applying the grant between those two invoices. We had originally applied it to one phase, and we're just internally booking it to another phase. Wanted to bring that to the community's attention. It doesn't create any sort of change as far as the community obligation, but just when we're booking it in-house and making that change, we wanted to make you aware of that. That is why the necessary bottom line total adjustment is 0, but we'll be moving that money from one invoice to another and how that grant applies. So,
Yeah, it was just making a giant a problem for us getting a large disbursement due to Digester not being able to get their plumbing contract with a waiver. So we had to change the way we were doing that with EFC.
So the following invoices were received for other phases of the Beaver Creek Clean River project. Digester is there for 2 phases, the plumbing and HVAC. Keller is there for the general construction, as is Reifenberg. And then Spring Electric is also included for their work, I believe, at the South Plant that is ongoing. The invoices now are full freight, as no more IMG or WQIP is being applied, although IMG may kick in at the very end with retainer. Is that correct, Bill, or am I mistaken in that statement?
Yeah, we got the first 5 million at the beginning, and we get the last 5 million at the end.
Okay, thank you. So the pay apps as presented total 2.9 million and change, submitted by the City of Albany, available by Dropbox. We'll certainly, if and once approved, distribute these to the communities to reflect them on the community balance sheets. Do we have any questions from the communities?
If there's no questions, can I have a motion to pay the invoices?
A motion.
Chris, can I have
I'll
a second?
second.
Andrew, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just one thing to be aware of, Bill, that we're working with EFC on our water transmission line.
Yeah,
Our comptroller is doing an evaluation. By doing the 5 million on the front end and the 5 million on the back end,
yeah,
screws up the interest. You got to pay interest on the grant funding. So by not being able to get your grant along the entire project, it compounds your interest once you run out of that first 5 million grant. So we're working with them, and for our water line project, it's costing us an extra $60,000 a year by not accounting for that grant funding as the project moves forward. Just something to be aware of.
okay. The intricacies of this financing. So we're out of the grant and we're into the financing. The communities that finance through EFC have their financing. An additional amount for an amendment is upcoming. And I think all the communities are going to be closing on that upcoming here. And I think we're closing on our part on February 3rd. And the other communities may be closing before that on that extra 10 million. So the next thing on our agenda is Authority Budget Office reports, our Paris reports.
Yep. Our annual report is broken down into 4 pieces. They also call it your annual report. So it's weird that your annual report has a subset of an annual report, but that's how they structure it. I will call those up on the screen. Hopefully they load on the screen. This is our annual report for the year 2021. In summary, a lot of the information contained therein is a repeat of information we've communicated to the Authority Budget Office about how our program functions. and what the responsibilities of the corporation are. So through pages 1 through 3, a lot of the, or 1 through 4 rather, a lot of the same material. We do have a note when we get into page 5 about how we've transitioned in accordance with open meetings law to how we've hosted our meetings and where we are live streaming and locating our materials. So some slight changes in our annual report there. When it comes time to discussing evaluations, we update the date and we submit our evaluations to the Authority Budget Office as well. So we provide a provision reminding them of that. And then I provide them with a summary of projects that have been completed or are in progress over the past year for which we are seeing financial activity, including Big C, Columbia Street, Polk Street, and Valete. So those are projects that are ongoing and that are communicated to the Authority Budget Office as activity is taking place, to be able to see the progress of the corporation and what we're working on. Any questions about these particular materials that were submitted? Actually, I need to update. I'm not doing well with dates. That needs to be changed to 2021. I got to get better at that.
Okay, so there's a number of reports that
Yeah, this is the first one. Why don't I just discuss them in mass, and we could take, if it's okay with folks, we can kind of do a consent agenda and their submittal with making sure that the dates are corrected. Not doing it today. I'll summarize our investment report. We don't have any investments other than an obligation as required to collateralize our assets in excess of the FDIC $250,000 that is insured. We do have a collateralization agreement with Pioneer Bank and Wilmington Trust for the balances in excess of $250,000, which essentially we communicate to the Authority Budget Office that while we don't make investments, we do have a level of protection beyond our federally insured limit in a collateralization account. So that's merely just a communication to express that, but we don't have any investments for the corporation. The next item is our property report. This is my favorite report that I generate. We don't own, acquire, or dispose of any real property. The corporation is here to settle the financial interests and manage the long-term control plan. So that is the most straightforward and beautiful report that we get to submit to them. And finally, our risk report, which is the last component of our annual report. This has not changed because our risks that we have identified as low risk, medium risk, and high priority risks have traditionally always been the same, in that the significant risks lie in violating the order on consent and cash flow, which is tends to be an issue when we have the needs of the communities being immediate and the requests for funding and reimbursement from the bank, so to speak, has traditionally taken some time, and cash flow remains to be one of those internal risks of the corporation. So no significant changes to this report this year from years prior in the application of what we believe to be risks to corporate function. So with those reports summarized, any questions, comments, concerns from the board members?
So that, do we have to file the audited financials also before?
We do. Yep. So these are the reporting elements that are required in addition to the audited financials and a management letter that is composed by our auditors, as well as the CHAR 500 and the IRS tax filing to Uncle Sam. So those elements comprise our materials that we upload to the Authority Budget Office, but the board needs to take action on our annual report in order for that to be communicated to Authority Budget Office as well.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept these with modification of dates of as noted by Martin, and we'll proceed filing with the Authority Budget Office?
I'll make the motion. This is Gary.
Gary,
I'll second it.
Maggie, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks. Go back to the agenda.
EFC.
I did want to mention there's been some communication with EFC about Troy's financing. Chris, I feel like they're picking on you all the time. There were two projects as of note in the Exhibit C for City of Troy's final tranche of financing. As people may recall, we were attempting to lump all the remaining projects into one single financing and make it really easy for the agency to review and button up the remaining projects. EFC let us know after the final version of Exhibit C was submitted that two projects were going to get caught up in their loan committee. That was Middle Valete Street and Skylar Overflow, because they have scheduled dates of completion after the expected time when Troy's financing would go from short-term to long-term. Apparently that is not permitted by the agency. We did communicate with Albany that Skylar has an anticipated move-up date, so that project will be fully completed. But the Middle Valete project,
That was actually Manor Avenue.
Manor Avenue, yeah. Too many M streets and co's. Manor Avenue cannot be shifted up, so the construction of that project will need to be removed from Troy's financing for this particular tranche. But we were told that because this is a consent order project and it will be constructed, we don't really have a choice in that, that we can include the engineering costs, the estimated engineering costs of that particular project in Troy's financing. So Troy got kicked back the draft new Exhibit C that gets kicked back to EFC when it's completed, and we're expected for a January closing. Chris, did I summarize that okay? Do you have any color to add?
The only color I had to add to that is EFC passed a new regulation that you are allowed to have up to a 30% contingency on projects not yet bid. I think they're trying to account for all the material increases on projects that are out there. So we did increase the contingency on the projects to a 30% just to cover extended costs.
30% on projects not bid.
Yep.
Yep, it's costs are escalating, and who knows where they go.
Yeah, the labor costs seem to be flatlined, but the material costs and shipping costs have skyrocketed.
Yeah, which is also messing with schedules.
Yes.
So I think, is there anything else we need to talk about EFC, and are we set, Martin?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, project updates. We just keep pouring concrete at Beaver Creek. Really, our phase one project was completed a while ago. The screen project at the South Plant, waiting for the screens to arrive, which will be next year. We just took bids on the actuated gate at the South Plant, and we had budgeted 400,000, and the low bidder was Keller at a little bit over 400,000. So that's pretty good. Actually, they were the next bidder was 650. So
Wow.
we're glad we bid that. Anyway, that was the last.
What'd they miss?
I don't know, but yeah, Jet Industries, we thought they'd probably be a lock on it since they're already working there, but it didn't turn out the case. So you never know when you bid who's going to be the low bidder. And we're a little bit slowed down with the tunnel from Delaware Avenue to the satellite treatment facility because drill tech's equipment's been breaking down. But Keller's been doing a lot of concrete pours, and there's not too much to show with the photos except more concrete going in that at that location. And that's it. Our other projects are kind of far off into the future here with elimination of a couple of overflows. We're moving ahead with a bond resolution for our share of the rest of the long-term control plan, which we'll be applying for funding next year. So anything new with codes projects, Gary?
We've got a pre-construction meeting Monday with Carver. So, and he's already been submitting in submittals for, some of the material and whatever. So Columbia Street still looks, good. I'll have a better handle after Monday's meeting. And on Vliet Street, which is the area along the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail, I'd like to bid it in January. We did submit a core permit for wetlands and other work, and we're kind of hoping to hear from them soon. And as soon as we hear from them, then we can set a bid date on when we want to go on out to bid. The plans and specs are, obviously all done, and we're hoping that the Corps doesn't have any comments so that we can take those and put them immediately out for bid instead of tweaking it a little bit. But we'll see what happens with the Corps.
Okay. And Chris Whelan, Troy's projects, you've got?
We have Polk Street. They wanted a revised engineering report that included everything, not just an update to the CSO long-term control plan report, but they wanted a standalone engineering report. So that should be revised in their hands probably beginning of next week. And then we are working on the Van Buren has plans and specs due next fall. So we are starting to get some surveying done on that so we can get that moving along.
Okay. And so you're anticipating closing on your 01 financing pretty soon here?
Hopefully in January. Seems like keeps getting pushed off for, whatever reason, but it seems like the schedule is good. The numbers look right. Until they come back with their third note of something else being off, we'll be in front of them in January.
Okay, and then you'll be all set for the whole program.
For everything, yes.
Yeah, the only lingering project may be Manor Avenue, but that may be a good WQIP project.
Yeah, and that's 5 years out.
Yeah.
And depending on the cost of that, we may, if it's only one project that's left, we may look at that funding that differently than going through EFC.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's been some discussion about whether some of the federal money might increase amounts of grants or principal forgiveness on these projects. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But our biggest project already has its stuff. But yeah, eventually we have Little C at Gahoes to do too.
Correct.
So we still have some expenditures that we could take advantage of that additional grant amount if it comes along. So I don't know if we've heard anything more about potential WIA, another round of WIA, but maybe that's depending on what happens with the federal stimulus package. So Anything else that we needed to discuss today? We
Has
need to
anybody
discuss.
heard about Rensselaer County with, a rep coming on board?
So they have communicated to us that Jason Wheeler is the official rep that has been designated by the county. We do send materials back and forth, and once in a while he sends a question along. But other than a periodic email or question, nothing major. But that is a good reminder that we do need to touch base with them about the past contributions that they've made in our sampling program, because I believe, next year is our next round of sampling, and the district has traditionally provided some services to us. So I will put that as a to-do item to reach out to them early on to make sure that we can continue to count on them for some of their collection responsibilities.
Okay. Did we need to discuss another board meeting before the January 13th meeting, Martin?
Yeah, I wondered if this time next week was okay with everybody. I believe we can make this swing with the auditors as well.
There's an MS4 meeting on the 16th.
Oh, it's not on the 23rd. That's right.
No, it's on the 16th.
Yep. What about a little bit later in the day, like 1 o'clock? Are people available at 1 o'clock on the 16th?
Yeah, I think I am.
Yeah.
I'm available.
Should
I will
see.
not be available. I'm out of town next week.
Well, we do have Gary here.
Oh, you have Gary.
It's going to be a pretty brief meeting.
Just a summary of our audit and financials that are associated with it, and then our 990 and our Chart 500. So one agenda item. We can publicly notice it 5 days before because it is a special meeting. So my only thing after this would be, I prefer just to notice it regularly, is to communicate with our auditors, put them on notice that next week will be the date and time for 1 o'clock, and that way I can release the probably public notice for 7 days, and we're good to go.
Okay, so the 16th at 1.
16th at 1.
Works for me.
Okay.
You sound so enthusiastic, Mark. Sorry.
That's just me.
I know.
That's my
We'll
wife
get through
calls
it.
me. That's why my wife calls me Eeyore. That's all.
We
Well,
should-
it's better than Piglet. I mean,
That's true.
He may not be as adorable, but that name doesn't ring well.
You just gave yourself a nickname. That's never.
Oh, jeez. Oh, shoot. Oh, crap. Oh, man.
Okay.
I take that back.
And that was, it was streamed. It's out there on the internet now. So
Yeah.
anybody else have any other business? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion. This is Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
I'll second.
Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, crap. Martin.
I couldn't resist. Mark. All right.
You're tough.
Hey, listen, everybody. We'll talk next week. Thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
You know,
Bye-bye.